Greetings to all of you. Welcome to this wonderful event, Rebuilding an Economy That Works for All. At the outset, I want to thank Spencer, Mason, Izzy, and Natasha, and the entire NUImpact team for all that you're doing, because I think this is an amazing, amazing purpose. And because, you know, at the end of the day, this is a very timely topic, a very impactful topic, and most importantly, it is a grand challenge that we as a society, we have to face. As you know, despite the longest US economic recovery in the past decade, the economic restoration has been uneven. We have a shrinking middle class, which means there is a bimodal population on either side, the wealthy and the economically disadvantaged. In fact, Pew Research reports that children of families from the 90th percentile are more likely to have 3 times the income of children that grow up in families from the 10th percentile of family incomes, which effectively means there is a double jeopardy for economic disadvantaged. You start off at a lower level in terms of incomes, but more importantly, the economic mobility is actually affected in the long run. And this has 2 types of effects. One is the demand side effect on an economy. When people don't have incomes or don't have appropriate incomes, they are not obviously going to spend, which means the GDP is affected. But more importantly, when people belong to economically disadvantaged families, etc., they are not going to get the right kind of education, which means they are not going to get the right kind of skills that is required in a modern economy, and therefore it becomes a very vicious cycle. In fact, there is a recent study that said, if we make the economy inclusive, we bring in people from racial and ethnic minorities that are excluded, bring in the excluded, the purchasing power will actually increase for these racial minorities from $4.3 trillion to about $6.1 trillion in 2045. And that tells you the kind of impact, economic impact, that we can have just by sheer virtue of bringing in people who are not in the mainstream economic growth models and so on. So that is why this is extraordinarily critical. And I'm so glad that you're all examining the social, economic, determinants, if you will, of economic inequality, because this is a very important issue, not just the economic inequality part, but also the economic equity. And I'm glad that you're doing this event. From my perspective, what can the More McKim do? When you think about an inclusive economy, it can only happen if you have an innovative research agenda and an innovative teaching agenda, which is what the More McKim is all about. We want to create to provide educational opportunities for all, so that you can go on to become impactful leaders. And to me, when I think about the More McKim, I think of 3 different mindsets: the global mindset, the lifelong learning mindset, and the entrepreneurial mindset, which to me is fairly critical. And when I talk about entrepreneurship, to me, it's not just about new ventures, but more about an attitude, a mindset, if you will, of thinking differently and so on. That is why I'm extraordinarily excited when NUImpact does an event like this, but more importantly, is extraordinarily community-minded, so that you want to invest not only for economic returns, but as for social returns as well. So your entire mission of investing in proximate local communities, in Boston communities, is extraordinarily welcome. And that is why I'm very excited about the future for NUImpact and what you mean to the More McKim, to Northeastern, and to the entire society. So I'm going to end with this, that there is a very famous book by Greg Easterbrook who talks about progress paradox. And one of the things he talks about is that people who are born in the Western world and who are in the middle class or in the upper class in the Western world, we live better than 99.5% of civilization that has ever lived on Earth. Just think about that for a moment. 99.5% of people that have ever lived on Earth, we live better. And there are countless examples that he recounts, etc. But the point is, of course, we have privilege. You are all educated, being educated in one of the most elite institutions in the world, right? I mean, so you have the privilege, you have the education. But the most important thing that I'm very proud of all of you is the fact that you are marrying that privilege and education with a social mindedness. And so when we create leaders like you, impactful leaders from day one, that's our social compact with civil society. So I'm glad that you are the change makers. I'm glad you are educating people and empowering people in order to create a very sustainable community and a long run society that is equitable for all. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate the chance to make some opening remarks here. And I truly appreciate what you're doing for the entrepreneurial ecosystem here at Northeastern. So thank you very much.